sometimes in times like this, it can feel like there isn't a lot of hope. I realize I've just named off a bunch of things that we used to think were true and that we used to be used to practicing, but as a lawyer myself and as a minister myself, and not just as a Mets fan and a Bills fan, but for many other reasons, I know that hope can be very hard to find. And so in times like this, being with people who understand what prayer means to them, what prayer especially means to the people who are coming, who really believe in the power of that prayer and its protection for the people that they love, it can be very uplifting. It can be very meaningful to be part of a group that does that. Hi everyone, and welcome to Tiny Pulpit Talks. I'm Reverend TJ Fitzgerald, your Minister of Community Care and Engagement. It's just me here in the library because today I wanted to talk about something that I do a little more work on that everyone doesn't see sometimes, and that is immigration work. Though I don't practice law in Texas, I'm not admitted to practice law in Texas. I am admitted to practice law in New York, and there are aspects of immigration law that you are allowed to practice. Now, I'm not representing people, I'm not doing anything like that, but I am working with groups that are looking at trends that are happening in immigration here in Texas, the way immigration laws are being enforced, the way practices are being undertaken both by law enforcement and by immigration judges and other things like that here in Texas. So I wanted to talk and update some people about some of these things. One of the most important things to know about immigration law in the US actually now, and especially in Texas, is that a process that used to exist called bonding someone out or being out on bond in immigration court is essentially over. Not everyone understands this, that there used to be a process by which if you go into immigration court, you could have a bond hearing and someone could negotiate an amount of money that you or someone you know could post so that you could go and be with your family or with loved ones or just continue working or doing what else you were doing until the time when you meet with the immigration judge and a final disposition of your status here in the United States can be decided. That whole process is gone. The way that immigration law is being practiced or enforced in the United States now is that if you're picked up by immigration or by law enforcement of some kind and turned over to immigration, that there is not going to be a bond hearing for you except under extremely urgent or specific circumstances. In general, you're going to go back to the country that they decide you're supposed to go back to, and it could mean spending a significant amount of time in detention, which is a very unpleasant experience. So what we are seeing now more and more is that when people are being picked up, when people are being put into detention, they are ready to go back because they know there is no way out of the detention. So currently the situation is not so much about bond hearings. Now many lawyers are starting to look at the issue of habeas corpus. People talk about habeas corpus in legal dramas and in movies that kind of file this thing. What it means is, let's have the body or show me the body, habeas corpus. You can only bring a case of wrongful detention. That is what a habeas corpus case is, that you believe someone is being wrongly or improperly detained. But in order to file a case like that and to free the person or to make sure the state or whoever is keeping the person proves that A, they have the right person, that B, that person is supposed to even be there, and that C, that they are there under some sort of actual color of law, that there's a law that makes sure that they're supposed to be detained, you have to file that case exactly in the district where that person is. So that is very complicated because one of the ways the current administration is avoiding habeas corpus cases is by moving people from one institution to another, to another, to another, so that lawyers can't actually physically file the habeas corpus papers in the district where the person is being held. So that is one of the challenges right now. If you are watching this, if you are someone who has done federal practice, if you are someone who would like to learn how to do federal practice, there are many legal clinics, especially in UC Berkeley and in other law schools, that are working on projects to start growing habeas corpus work and how to reach people who are being wrongfully detained in certain areas. Frankly, it's just one of the last ways that we've got left under the current administration to do this. So these are some of the legal updates about what's really happening in immigration court. I know it's dire, but there is hope as well. There are other things happening in immigration court. One of them is many people right now through the American Bar Association and through other Vecinos Unidos, which is Neighbors United here in Dallas, are being trained to be observers in immigration court. Now, immigration law judges are not what are called Article III judges. They aren't under the judicial branch of the United States. Immigration judges are appointed or hired by the executive branch. By the executive branch, meaning the president of the United States is the boss of immigration judges. So if you were under some kind of illusion that immigration judges have this kind of, the same kind of independence that an Article III judge has, I hope that I have burst your bubble sufficiently. The way that immigration law hearings go is that the immigration judge is there to follow the rules and the guidelines set forth by the executive branch. And so currently, those judges can enforce really the rules pretty capriciously as they want in their courtroom. So it's important for people to bear witness, to go see how folks are being treated in those courtrooms, and to tell observers, to tell the ACLU, to tell the American Bar Association, to tell local partners what they've seen. One of the things that's very important right now is if you are a courtroom observer, if you've been trained, if you've gone to go do that, many people in the Dallas area and around would really like to know if you have witnessed a detention following a hearing. If someone has said, well, you're going to be detained now, we want to know which law officers are participating in that detention. So if you happen to be observing, if you hear about any of those things, better is eyewitness testimony. So if you see someone detained after a hearing, please let me know, let someone know what was on the shoulder of the officer, because these are the things we'd really like to know. Who is participating in this action, and is it sanctioned by their boss? Because if some people are taking part in it and their supervisors or the part of the enforcement that they are a member has told them not to do that, that's an important thing we need to know. Now, these are, again, very pragmatic things that are happening in immigration. There's another thing that happens every Monday from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. at the Department of Homeland Security office here on Stemmons, and that is a vigil that many of my colleagues and I have been to, and many of your friends, if you're watching this, have probably been to. More and more, that vigil, that time of prayer and holding space outside the immigration building here in Dallas, has become a chance for families and members who are visiting or who are attending hearings with loved ones to pray, to speak with people who've been through this, to find resources and things like that. So there's plenty of information about this online. If you want more information, you can email me about it. I can put you in touch with the people who are organizing it or some of our members of this church or other churches that are going. But I mentioned the vigil last because sometimes in times like this, it can feel like there isn't a lot of hope. I realize I've just named off a bunch of things that we used to think were true and that we used to be used to practicing, but as a lawyer myself and as a minister myself, and not just as a Mets fan and a Bills fan, but for many other reasons, I know that hope can be very hard to find. And so in times like this, being with people who understand what prayer means to them, what prayer especially means to the people who are coming, who really believe in the power of that prayer and its protection for the people that they love, it can be very uplifting. It can be very meaningful to be part of a group that does that. So whether you're doing that right there on Stemmons Freeway, whether you're doing it with other people, whether you're finding places around Dallas or wherever you are to do that work, I encourage you, I implore you to take a moment to really think about the lives that are being impacted, that are being affected, that are really being torn apart by so much of this work, and to pray for a day when these rights, these duties, these ways we are neighbors to one another and citizens here together in this country can be better once again. So until then, these are some of the brass tacks about what's going on as an update. If you have questions, if you have concerns, let us know. I'll do my best to respond to all of them. Just put them in the chat or send me an email or let me know what's going on with you. We want to hear from you. So until further notice, until everything else changes again, which it may, this is our most current update of where things are, and we hope it brings you some knowledge, some certainty, and maybe some hope. Until then, we will talk to you soon. This is just coming at you from Tiny Pulpit Talks. We hope to see you again on Sunday. Have a good day. Thank you.